We're based in Israel and Holland and London and Australia. And my agency, which is Ambu, does multicultural marketing, cultural focused marketing. And so we were being approached by some of these firms, startups internationally, asking like if we can help them, grow in Silicon Valley. And we don't do that really. I mean, it's an agency and we largely work with the brands. So the idea was like, we launch a platform and that brings you guys together, and that's how the meetup came together. And before we know, like it's in about a year, we have like 1,000+ members from 100+ countries. And the reason that happened is because there is a need in the market, there's a demand in the market. The supply is not big enough, whether they are accelerators or incubators or co-working spaces or I hear another actually term, those guys just left, regeneration. This is the first time I heard that, regeneration. Sort of like, they help accelerate the growth. So, but those are whether they are all the way from Y Combinator to 500 startups, they are a very limited number. And there's a lot of talent that is coming to Silicon Valley from all over the world, just like you guys, with brilliant ideas. And but they are finding some validity in the US market, either through a co-founder or some investment or some partnership or growth here, literally consumer focus, enterprise focus, but some kind of a validity and growth in this market. And our effort, our goal is to actually bring you guys together on one platform on a very tangible on-site event like this. The future vision is actually to make it more virtual. So a lot of you actually come here and you're gone in 3 months, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 1 year, literally 1 week. And when you're gone, because all these people, all of you are like, a lot of you are in touch with me and they say, how do I maintain my connection that I collect only so many business cards, but how do I carry on that network? And that's why we told them like, because we're going to take this virtual. So we can offer you services like immigration access, immigration expert access, or investment advice, and all the services we can offer you internationally while you're sitting back in your home country. So when you come here, you're more prepared. So that's a long-term vision, and so we are working towards that. We bring in very qualified speakers, and today we have with us Ambu, and Ambu actually is the founder and CEO of Orange Harp, and she will do more justice, better thing about telling about her company. We keep it very casual. There's no PowerPoint, there is no presentation, there is no mic here. It really becomes like a very interactive platform where you guys get a chance to ask your questions. You may have an immigration concern, you may have an investment concern, or whatever it is that you've got, challenges that you're going through. So the idea is to actually, somebody as a speaker and being on the pedestal, just ask them like, what are those issues, challenges? They've gone through what you're going through right now, similarly, so it's good for you to connect. Thanks for coming in again, and Ambu, please.
Hi everybody, my name is Ambu. I'm an engineer by training. I grew up in India, studied computer science, and moved to the US maybe 8.5 years ago. How many of you here have started your own company? How many are planning to? Okay, cool. So we are similar, like-minded people. So I just wanted to share with you my story and what I have learned so far, what helped me, and also keep it interactive. If you have any questions or share your experiences, I would love to hear that as well. So my company is called Orange Harp. A story behind the name is I love Golden Gate Bridge, and I wanted the company to be associated with Golden Gate Bridge. The color is international orange, and when the bridge was open to public, San Francisco Chronicle called it a $35 million steel harp. So combined those two and made it Orange Harp, but my mom still calls it Orange Heart. Anyway, so it's an app for socially conscious fashion. What that means is, again, maybe I can step back a little bit, telling you a little bit more about my background. I grew up in a middle class family in India, and where reduce, recycle, reuse is part of everyday life. My granddad's t-shirt would become his handkerchief later. So we extend the life cycle of everything that we buy, and rainwater harvesting system we had because Indian summer could be brutal. And when I moved to the Bay Area, I loved it because here people are very socially conscious. We go to farmers markets, farm to table is a huge thing here. Fair trade coffee, people give back. And I wanted to have the same kind of lifestyle in every aspect, and I love to dress up. Fashion is where there was a huge gap. And when you are buying a $5 t-shirt, I started questioning, like, where is this coming from? How are people getting paid to make this? What is it made of? And to scratch my own itch, being an engineer, it came handy. I quickly prototyped an app and showed it to friends, and they loved. And first and foremost is fashion is all about how it makes you feel, right? You have to feel comfortable, you have to feel pretty in it, handsome or whatever. So, and also I saw the supply side, especially young makers, millennials, they go out of their way to make sure that the products made are high quality. That is something you want to pass it on to your next generation. And I found these amazing makers who are young, going out of their way. We have a brand called Sword and Plow that makes beautiful bags, backpacks from repurposed military tents. They would otherwise be burnt. They are buying them. The CEO still works in the military, actually serves in the army, and discovered all these makers and brought the consumers as well as the demand together, and people instantly fall in love with what we are doing because everyone wants to do the right thing. If you want to, if I ask you a question, hey, would you want to provide fair working conditions? You would be like, yes, I want to do that. So the biggest thing is we will have to make it easy for people, and mobile is a part of me, and mobile technology, as you know, we cannot live without our smartphones. So the adoption has been pretty faster than what I thought, and that is pretty much my story. We have more than 25 brands now, and I started the company last year, incorporated the company last summer, and we launched as invite only in January. We did a public launch on TechCrunch in May. I can talk a little bit about if you guys are thinking about how to get PR. I can definitely answer questions. I learned everything the hard way. There are two things that really helped me a lot. Number one is people. I have been in the Bay Area for 8 years now, and I used to go to a lot of networking events, not just for the sake of networking, genuinely wanting to meet people. Even at work, I was always part of a group or something, and it was really interesting, like how all these people turned out to help me. I mean, they didn't expect, and Silicon Valley especially has a paid forward culture, and all those good connections that I made. The person who worked with me 2 jobs ago gave was the main reason to get our first corporate deal, that too with Dropbox. And I had no idea when I was like working with him. Like after 3 years, he would help me in such a way. And people who worked with me invested in my company. So one thing is making real, genuine connections. We should not. That's something I tell myself. Like I should never network just for the sake of networking. People are always interested. Everyone has a unique story. Knowing that and being genuine definitely will pay you. Number 2 is, this is again, most of you are from different countries. That helped me a lot, giving me perspective. When you start your company, you have so much pressure, especially as an immigrant. We are all like rock stars, right? We have done well, super resilient, and very adventurous. We took all the risks in our life, and we have a successful career. When you are starting a company, there is so much at stake. Like, what if I fail? What happens? Like, I will lose my face and all those things. So I put a lot of pressure on myself and believed in the hype. Oh, I should raise money from institutional VCs. That's the only way to be successful. I have to be this, I have to be that. But what I learned is you have to be honest to yourself. That is the number one thing. That is the most important thing. You don't need to get validation from anyone else. You have to be honest to yourself. And if you, as an entrepreneur or immigrant, you have come a long way. If that is possible, anything is possible. So, yeah, that's pretty much my story.
Wow. sure there is more to it, and then we want to open up for questions. Yes, please. Yeah.
Going back to TechCrunch, how do you get to PR? How did you get through the chatter?
So first and foremost thing is journalists don't hire a PR firm early. It is the founders can tell the story. There is no one else that can do a better job. So, and also the journalists, apparently they would love to hear from the founders. And number one thing is what is different, because people always want something new, right? If I'm pitching them, oh, I'm a search engine implementing PageRank. People would be like, Google is already doing that. What is new about you? So, and of course, as I said, like every story is unique. What is interesting about you? If you are reading about your company, let's say you haven't started the company, but you are reading, what would make you interested in the company? So pitch that, and also first standard, of course, I cold emailed people. Find them, email them. Going through connections, common connections is always better. Look for someone, first find someone who is relevant, because someone who is super popular, I made that mistake. My first pitch was to someone who works at Fast Company, because I thought that is the best way to go. But she was like, I'm not interested in your domain. But Sarah Perez from TechCrunch wrote about us. Her sister, of course I didn't know about that, her sister is all about socially conscious fashion. So that is what interested her. So first knowing the background, and founder should email them. And if you're emailing through a common connection, that is helpful. And also find the timings, like Tuesday is generally a slow day for them. So find the slow days for them and pitch them. And keep it short. And whatever the action item, keep it bold and give them a precise time period. This time to this time I'm free for a phone call. Can you make it, or can you let me know a good time? And follow up, because you are not going to get a response for the first email 2 times, 3 times, in a non-annoying way. And also I'm curious to know your story, like whenever, I mean, every day is an adventure for us, right? And of course we are still very young. So I have this 20-minute cycle. 20 minutes I'm top of the world, 20 minutes I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. So at that time, to keep things in perspective, I think about like, I can do this. Like I did my engineering, I can do this. I didn't realize that I would pass an examination. I passed, I can do this. So what motivates you? What actually picks you up?
I have a question. So,
yeah, sure.
So I'm sorry, I didn't really look at the app before this. So can you describe it? You have 20 brands on?
25 brands, yeah.
25 brands. Does that mean that you've created 25 brands, or
no,
you're partnered with brands, or how
yeah,
does
I
this
can talk a little bit about that. So we have built a platform where we have invested a lot in technology. Everything is automated. So what we do is, first, starting with due diligence, we look for brands based on 3 different criteria: how they make the products. For instance, I'm wearing a jacket from our app. It's made from recycled fishing nets, which would otherwise end up in the ocean. Because if a fishing net is damaged, fishermen just throw it in the ocean. These guys actually buy from fishermen and recycle them to fabric and make jackets. So how they make the product. Number 2 is fair working conditions for the employees. Number 3, which is an optional thing, giving back. We have a socks brand. When you buy a pair of socks, they donate a pair to homeless people. And when we discoveries through different forms, Google or our existing brand partners, we reach out to them and talk to the founders. I make it a point that I talk to the founders. If they are local, I go in person and look at the working conditions and making sure that what they are saying is actually what they are doing. And once we are happy with everything, as I said, we have technology to extract. Most of them use Squarespace or Shopify. So we have built tools to extract all the information from their system. So there is no manual data entry. And it's like Etsy or any other shopping app. It's all indexed by brands or product types. You can go to the app and search, filter by, I want to see all the jackets, and you will see all the jackets. And let's say you decide to buy a product, the transaction happens within the app, and we notify the brands, and they get all the information from shipping. They get paid right away. We take our cut. So that's our business model. For every transaction, we take a fee, and they process the order. They ship it directly. It's drop shipping, so we don't have to hold inventory or anything. So it's an end-to-end Orange Harp experience, but we don't make the products. We are just the connectors.
And so right now it seems like the brands that are on board are ones that are already online in the shop.
Yes, yes,
And can
yeah.
already produce and meet some sort of quota requirements.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not going to sell out the same day.
That is our aim. We have to grow to a point that they are sold out in a day. But right now they are all small makers. We actually try to stay away from big brands because big brands have so many distribution channels. When a brand is small, you find good about, wow, I discovered this. And also it's good for business because you don't have multiple channels to buy the same product. Yeah, but you are right. They need to have online presence.
You say it's an app, but it's not a web app, it's not a website.
It's an iOS app.
So what's the reason to make an iOS app? Because it does look like, I don't know.
Yeah, so that's a very valid question because if it's a web app, it's ubiquitous, like any browser, anyone can buy. If it's an Android and iOS app, then we have covered both markets, but we decided to launch with iOS. There are two reasons. One is selfish reason. I have mobile background, so that's all I know, and I'm obsessed with mobile technology. Even this week we have already integrated with Apple Pay. We have submitted to the App Store. So how do we push the envelope? How to make it more interesting in mobile space, shopping especially? And number two is building for the future. I mean, we are already doing so many things on our mobile devices, and of course there is still retail therapy concept. Of course, women can relate more than men. If we make it a more engaged experience, we can bring the same experience on mobile. Let's say you are waiting for your train. You pull out our app and you browse the products. You learn the stories of the labels. So it's not just about shopping. We actually talk about what motivated the designer to make these products. So it's entertaining, very engaging and entertaining. The only reason why you would think about prefer a desktop version is you want to see in a bigger screen. I'm carrying an iPhone 6. You can see that the screen sizes are becoming bigger. So that problem is also getting solved. So an Apple Pay is again like finger touch, you can pay, whereas in your desktop you have to type. So this is where the future is. So that's the bet that we made.
No, I understand all the advantages of an iOS app, but for you, then you kind of have, because the brand has to, it's a small brand, they have to try to find customers. Then you have to find people that are willing to actually install the app, and like you cannot really do SEO and all of this because.
Yeah, that is very true. But the thing is, there are two ways to solve the problem. SEO, we have a website with content. It's not very dynamic. It's about the brands, and we have brand stories and everything. So those are all like optimized for Google to crawl. When people search for, let's say we have some personal care products, organic skincare, we would still show up. And we have a banner at the top if it's on iOS that you can install the app if you haven't before. So that is a hook. Yes, there are some downsides to it, but at the same time there are some upsides also being on mobile. So we are focusing on the upside to acquire users.
Other than PR and this website with SEO, what have you tried in terms of acquiring more users?
So this is again I learned it while working on a company. Any product to be successful, and of course no matter how great the technology is, you need to have users to buy your products. Right now we are focusing mainly on the early adopters, so we are actually hand recruiting through like-minded organizations or bloggers. There are sustainable fashion bloggers and influencers. The bloggers are like, they love us. If you even search for Orange Harp, you can see so many articles written about us. So that is one great way to acquire, and we have seen like social media doing really good. Since this is all about thought leadership, sustainability, our Twitter channel has been very influential. Instagram has been great because we are, of course, it is a serious concept, socially conscious fashion, but we are focusing on interesting products. Instagram has been huge for us, and it has come all the way from acquiring users all the way to conversion. We post a picture on Instagram, and the same week we would get orders for the picture that we posted.
How about Pinterest?
Pinterest sadly didn't do well for us. Pinterest and Vanilla we just abandoned. We focus on number one Instagram, number two Twitter, and also now we are looking at strategic partnerships. How do we work with companies like this again? Like we have made a short list. We haven't started working. GoodX, I don't know if you are familiar with GoodX. They work with local farmers, and there is a website you can buy product. It's like farmers markets online, being online, with like-minded companies. But again, going back to emphasizing on product, number one thing is if a product is amazing, people will talk about us. Do interesting thing with the products, and the biggest growth strategy is your existing users should be the ambassadors for your app. No matter how great the PR you get, like, because if the product is not great, you get amazing PR. After 2-3 days, you would see the graphs going down. So now we are focusing on how do we build the network effect, because people love our products and they tell their friends. In fact, we did a survey. 75% of users have already recommended or will recommend Orange Heart to a friend, but we haven't. We still need to do a good job in building the network effects within the app, sharing, telling your friends, and keeping them coming back through push notifications or more engaged user experience. Now we are investing our time in building that. So again, long story short, number one growth driver is your existing users should actually be your ambassadors to talk about you, to recommend to their friends.
Good. I have a few questions based on, I sit down here with very, very interesting entrepreneurs, and just related to some of their stories. So how's the growth coming along?
So initially I was clueless, to be honest. So it's again like I heard this from someone. Your startup is like you are unlocking a door with a bunch of keys. You don't know which key is going to fit. Sometimes if you are not lucky, time runs out, you would never find out which key is going to unlock. So we did a lot of experiments, and also I got like, because I was actually the lead for growth team at Lookout, so I had like so much pressure on myself, like I have to grow faster, and we tried out like so many things which brought a lot of users, but they were not high quality users. Then I took a step back. Okay, I don't want users who are deal hunters, because this is not the kind of app, because we kind of reached out to fashionistas or fashion bloggers who are all about, some of them are all about like how do you get a Prada bag for cheap or whatever. So we actually got them right about our app. The users that came in through that channel were not high quality. So I took a step back. It is okay if I'm not growing 10x in a month, but even if I'm, in terms of user numbers, even if I'm growing 5x, it has to be high quality users, especially at the early stage. Your early adopters are very, very important. As I said, growth is all about your existing users should recruit new users. Now we are focusing on ethical fashion bloggers, people who are socially conscious, like-minded blogs, lifestyle bloggers. They are better because some of the lifestyle bloggers focus about mindful living. So that has been helpful. Now, as I said, the network effect has kicked in. Our existing users are recruiting new users, because the top of the funnel we are recruiting really high quality users. So that is taking off now.
Any investment so far?
So as I said, people. First I talked to only 2 boutique firms. When I started, right after I incorporated the company, I didn't even have a fully working prototype. They were like, luckily I have, one of my mentors is actually an investor, so getting access to VCs, other VCs was easy. I talked to only two, and they were like, oh, it's too early, come back a little later. And then I realized that I don't want to spend my time pitching investors because e-commerce is not a good word at this point. Then I went back to the people I worked with in the past, VP of engineering or VP of HR. At Lookout, she introduced me to someone who ended up investing in me. So that actually helped, and also our operating cost is so low, I could keep the company lean. So angel investors, through my connections, we have now 6 angel investors. Each one is amazing. They are opening doors to new connections and new possibilities. So that's great so far.
Awesome. So one thing I noticed when we talked about was how some of the companies that she worked in and some of the events that she went to, how those people that you don't know, you're meeting them and you acquaintances, and they end up becoming actually contacts that lead you to the next level, in certain areas of your business growth. So you never know, and applying the same, whether it's her previous companies or events that she used to go to, you really never know. And instead of like quantity, I think really focus on the quality of conversations and networking. You rather want to walk out with 5 people, and really very, very well than 15, and then just because it just becomes a business card at the end of that.
Yeah. I have a story. Hope you guys are not too hungry, but this is a good one, too good not to share. So I wanted to submit our app to the App Store as invite only, because at that time we had only 7 brands. I was like attaching screenshots. My engineer walked out on me. He was like, you said this is going to be done at 6:30, now it's 9:30, I'm done. I'm going to go out. I'm going home. And I was like, wait. But things were not working out between us. And I was like, okay, let's submit the binary and then you can go, because the binary was in his laptop. And previously I was working on Android, so I didn't have any clue about iOS. And he was like, no, I have to go. And I ordered food and everything, but he left. He's a very smart guy, very good guy. He's actually, in fact, I got to know him through a friend. And there I was sitting, and I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do? Then he called me, hey, I worked so hard. I want to submit to the App Store, but things are not working out. I was like, okay, fine. We submitted to the App Store. Within a week, we talked and we decided to part ways. And I had no idea how to continue. So I met a girl at a networking event. It was not really a networking event. It was just an event I went. She had a booth, and I talked to her, and I had coffee with her, and I sent an email. Hey, she's an iOS engineer. Hey, can we talk? And she ended up helping me. 2 weeks. All I asked her is like, I pay you $1,000. You teach me iOS for 2 weeks. I will ask you questions, and you fix. There were some bugs. You fix those bugs. I learned iOS in 2 weeks. I picked up and I created a new feature and launched it to the App Store. So you will never know how people would help you. And that was like random event. I talked to her for maybe 3 minutes.
So when you're bootstrapped, anything will do. A few more questions. So what about there are some. Oh no. So there are some issues that I've seen our members actually come across, and one of them is like a co-founder. How to find that mastermind that actually is going to be complementary to your skill sets and help you take the business, because one person usually doesn't do it. You need kind of 2 people at least to work together.
I don't have a co-founder.
Yeah.
So I had one actually. Again, things didn't work out. We had to part ways. So I have been on both sides. Yes, it is a lonely place. I mean, many of you can relate to that. Starting your own thing, because you are shaping your own destiny. A lot of work, but having the wrong person is worse than not having anyone. Because you have when you have so many things in flux, you have another thing to worry about, and when it comes to people and emotions, it is so hard. I would recommend starting, if you are looking for a co-founder, you have good history with them, like you grew up with them or you went to college with them or you worked with them in the past, you know how those people can handle stress, because it's, as you know, ups and downs every day. So my recommendation is, again, maybe there are some success cases with you meet someone at a meetup and all that, but my strong recommendation is, if there is doubt about someone, then there is no doubt. Don't work with them.
What are some good places to find like co-founders? It could be here. It could be.
I would say start with your LinkedIn and Facebook thing, because you never know, someone you went to high school with, maybe they are like in the same neighborhood as you, and reconnecting that would help. I don't know, this again, like my recommendation, I'm not sure if it's right or wrong. I wouldn't recommend this modern, you go to a meetup and you find someone interesting, and of course they have different backgrounds. I mean, I don't know, I have never seen a strong success case so far.
Right. There has to be a deeper connection that's actually has built over the years.
Sorry?
Sorry, what's that?
I didn't get that.
So I would recommend, I actually would not recommend bringing someone on board as a co-founder that you just met, let's say at a meetup or whatever. To know about someone, you need at least 3 to 4 months. Another way to do is, that is something that I have recently started doing. When I hire someone, I don't hire them right away in the interview process. I actually ask them to work with me for 2 projects. We set clear goals. This is what we are trying to do, and this is my expectation from you, and I assess, and of course we talk about consulting fee or whatever, and I tell them clearly, this is the outcome I'm expecting from you, and not just one time, twice they have to deliver. Then only I hire them as full-time people. Especially at a startup, the first 10 people set the tone for your company, from culture and everything. When you're 1,000 people, the first 10 people actually decide the culture for 1,000 people. It's very, very important. And again, this is something everyone tells, and I have experienced firsthand: hire slow, fire fast.
And what's your company tone?
Sorry?
What's your what is your company style? You said you're gonna set the tone with
Culture.
them.
Oh, with the culture. First and foremost is transparency. I actually tell my folks how much money is in the bank. So they have like, okay, I know that I don't have to panic, or even if they are panicking, then it's a different topic. So first and foremost is transparency, and number 2 is there is no such thing as job description. If someone is telling me that we actually we plan the week every Monday, if someone doesn't have an extra item beyond the things they have planned, I'm not happy. It's like if you are just doing what you are supposed to do, then you are not going to achieve anything in life. So it's about pushing the envelope, doing more, and being transparent.
You had a question?
If you had some, incremental investment, I don't know, $1 million or something, how would you spend it? What would you invest in?
So this is be scrappy, because you will be surprised how fast the money in the bank goes down, the balance goes down if you're not watchful. Be very, very scrappy, and I would right now, at least I can talk about how we are spending our money. Majority is going to salary, and also I made all the mistakes on work. I was like, engineer 100K salary, and when you are paying an engineer 100K, the government actually asks you to pay additional taxes for that employee. So your cost is 112 to 115 grand for an employee, which is ridiculous. So, and also the motivation for your first engineer should not be about salary. It's about like, I want to make this company successful. So I brought down the salary for engineer. And of course, living in Bay Area is expensive, so you have to be fair. Number 1 is salary, and number 2 is, again, use your connections. We have a Cloudflare account. I'm not paying for Cloudflare. Even though it's like $25 a month, I emailed, hey guys, we are a startup, can we get it for free? They were like, yeah, 6 months free. So try to be scrappy in every possible way. You will be surprised. People love to help. All you have to do is ask. Basically, if you read your credit card statement, and also there's another thing that we are very mindful. If you are using a credit card, there is no clear gauge on how much you are spending. So when you are using credit card, you have to be like extra careful.
That's helpful, but my question was more like, if someone invested in your company today, an additional $1 million, would you invest in, I don't know, going to another country, more marketing, hire more engineers?
For specific to my company. So I would hire people. So number one thing is hiring. Each one of us is doing at least 2 or 3 people's jobs. So number one is hiring. Hiring really amazing people.
What's your number one product right now in sales?
So we used to sell a lot of t-shirts. It's a home t-shirt. The brand is called Home Tea. It is very simple. Home State California is printed on the t-shirt, and the portion goes to multiple sclerosis research. But now that the weather is changing, now we are moving into the bigger ticketed item, jackets, dresses, so higher order value. And jewelry is something which is again accidentally we stumbled upon. Accessories, they don't have any fit issues, right? Because you don't have to worry it's a small or extra small. So we sell a lot of pocket squares, neckties, men and women jewelry.
It's pretty diverse.
Sorry?
It's pretty diverse.
Yeah, it's pretty diverse. It's kind of like, it's very seasonal though. It's very, each week is different. And also we are very early, if you are sending an email out, based on the email content, we do sales. We sent an email about grocery totes, like 3 simple reasons why carrying your own grocery tote is sexy. We sold a lot of grocery totes that weekend.
Have you sold a lot of Halloween stuff?
We don't have anything specific to Halloween.
Your featured stuff, everything is Halloween right now.
Yeah, so it's in our app. In that list, I think we sold a few nail polish colors. I don't recall anything specific from that list.
What did you
Thank
say?
you for installing
I
the
didn't
app. I'd love to
understand.
give you feedback.
What did you say? Grocery what?
Totes, bags.
Oh, tote
Yeah.
bags. Okay, sorry.
You read a blog about that, and people who read the blog, or was
We
it from
sent
a
an
Google
email
search?
with the 3 different reasons. One is you save money because every time you buy grocery shopping 2 bags is 20 cents. It's stylish. And number 3 is good for the planet. 3 simple points. People love that email.
Nice.
One of the speakers we had here in the past was Yoonha Kim. She's the founder and CEO, a Korean girl, young, and she's the founder and CEO of a mobile app called Get Locket. And it's kind of like, it's cool, I can't describe it, but it's a mobile app as well. And one thing she did, I'm mentioning it because it kind of like relates to what you're doing. She actually found an endorser in Tyra Banks. And Tyra Banks actually, started using, she really liked, because, okay, so first thing happened, she got exposure in TechCrunch. She said our user base went up 25,000 overnight. 25,000, they got downloads. And the next thing you know, Miss Tyra Banks is using it and she's blogging about it. And the next thing you know, obviously, she's, I don't know, not like a formal ambassador, but like brand ambassador in some way. So with your product having to do with fashion and social consciousness, it's good to find like some kind of a brand ambassador who can actually push the case.
We have one in the pipeline, so
Yeah.
I will share with with everyone here when it goes live.
Awesome.
We are actually talking to someone. It's very exciting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
One more issue I want to bring forth because it's the nature of our group here, the membership. It's immigration. It's so how many of you are like going through are not like either permanent residents or U.S. citizens or like just in transition or 2, 3, okay, so about 20%, let's say. So that's always an issue. Like, we really meet a lot of entrepreneurs. How did you overcome that? What are your advice to the people who are actually going through that issue? How to go about doing that? I've come across really people who've like nailed it down, who said, I'm going to do it no matter what. I'm going to figure out a way, and they figured it out working with or without immigration experts. But how did you do it, and then how to maneuver that part? Because it is a lot of people we do come across. They have brilliant products, but they end up actually leaving back for their countries because they've come here to find that growth, and they're not able to get that status to settle down here.
So I have so many data points about this. I want to keep this one very generic. Number one is there are different ways actually to do it, depending on which visa you are on and how much money you have in the bank. That also matters. And also, let's say even if you are on H1B or O1, I think you can start your own company, is it?
Yes.
The specialty visa.
Specialty.
Only when it comes to H4, things get a little weird. H4 or H2? H4. It gets a little weird. Sorry? Yeah. So, but if you're, let's say, if you have a work permit, there are different ways to do it. As I said, like money in the bank also plays a factor. And also, if let's say you are starting a company, what US cares about is there are two things. One is the person, when you are incorporating, whoever is incorporating, that person is that person a citizen? And number two is, let's say there is one way to do it. You incorporate your company through someone who is a citizen, and you transfer your visa to that company. Technically, you are working for that company, and then you can transfer the ownership, because the US immigration, not just immigration law, the law is pretty, there is no solid line, because even if you are working at a startup, you are a stakeholder, right? You own stock options. So there is no such thing as like how much you can own in a company.
Actually,
so
you the 20%.
20%?
Yeah. The person above you has to hire fire. So.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, there should be a clear, what is that, board member or someone.
Employer.
So then you can transfer your visa to, you are working for that company, and that means that what US government would look for is it a legitimate company? That is the number one thing, right? Because I think some people have misused the system. Is it a legitimate company? You have solid proof that, hey, we have done things in the past, or our app is already out there, or people have written about us. Any publication will help them, TechCrunch or whatever. And number two is, will the company be able to pay the employees? Because that is another thing. Some people started the companies, they hired people from different countries, didn't pay well. So to protect the employees, government has given, again, part of fair working conditions. So if you have enough money in the bank to back that, okay, this is how much I have to pay this person, and I have more money in the bank to pay for this person. Those two helps, and still there is a risk, because you will never know when it's entirely up to someone's mood that day, right? If they had good breakfast or good night's sleep, they are like, okay, this looks legit, I'm approving that, otherwise they say no. But at the end of the day, I am a strong believer of where there is a will, there is a way, and if it has to happen, it will happen. We cannot just leave it to chance. We have to do everything that we can. Yeah.
Well, one of the organizations that we partner up with is called Forward. If you guys have not heard about it, its website is fwd.us, and they're our close partners actually, and it's an organization, just to provide you the background on it. It's started by, actually supported by, very actively by Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Reid Hoffman, Drew Houston, Ron Conway. Some of these names you probably hear. So these are all the top Silicon Valley names in the tech arena. So we partner up with them because it's an organization that is pushing immigration policy reform in the market, and so we often bring them over to talk about, because we really do have a lot of members who have those concerns, and so they invite them to join. You don't have to formally join, but you can get involved in a lot of ways, and you'll be surprised actually. It helps you back. It gives you back in return So if you have immigration issues and all, just check it out, fwd.us. And I think you had question about.
Yeah, I had lots of questions, but I was wondering how much of your success of sales growth is dependent on the success of the companies that you're kind of working with. So smaller, brands, like their PR does really well, you actually sell more, and then it's also in turn how much do you guys impact those companies?
So most of our brands are really small, but now a few brands are actually they are gaining more popularity. One of them is called Naya. It's a lingerie brand, and the founder actually is featured on Fast Company Inc. and so many places. We don't see a direct correlation yet. We actually go for the opposite right now. People get to discover and have the brand affinity through us, not directly through them. So far it hasn't done much for us, but it will be interesting to see how things pan out in the future.
Have you thought about being like an ISO 9000 bachelor's conscious?
Yeah, that is another question people ask us. Like, this is again like, what is this company that does the car analysis? Edmunds, like that.
Yeah.
So people are like, you can be the bureau for like, how do you? Yeah, I think when we have enough data, both on the supply side as well as demand side, then it becomes more valuable. Okay, all our learnings, how do we apply? And of course, we can come up with a standard. If it's organic cotton, what does it really mean? Because people again cheat on that. So.
And with Apple, I get asked, I started an investment advisory firm, and I get asked often for social responsible funds.
Yeah.
And, I said, sure, but part of the funds don't have Apple in them. So,
yeah, it's actually like, it's very interesting that now people are becoming more and more aware. If you have read about the climate march, it was insane. Like, people didn't expect those many people to turn out. And there is more awareness now to be socially responsible. We think that we are trying to be nice to the planet. Actually, the planet is nice to us, being nice to us. If we are depleting all our resources, then we have no place to live. People definitely understand that.
And you use a lot of international companies or not yet?
So right now, almost 95% of our brands are in the US. I like it that way because I talk to the founders. I have gone in person to most of them. Yeah, and to ship the products. But this jacket is a Spanish brand. This is a new one. We just onboarded them 2 weeks ago.
Awesome. Great. Yeah.
So what's the type of challenge you're dealing with right now? Number one thing you're doing against it?
This might be a cliched one, especially Ben Horowitz talked about it. Managing my own psychology, because as I said, like every 20 minutes it's ups and down, and sometimes things get scary. Like, or like, let's say if it is a slow day in business, oh my gosh, like if this continues, what happens? Or a partnership that I'm like really waiting for that falls through. So again, going back to the lesson that I learned, or reminding myself, I have to be honest to myself. So if a day is not good, okay, tomorrow is going to be better, keeping that faith and putting one step ahead of, again, at the end of the day, if we are happy, we feel productive, we can face any challenges.
Victory over self, totally.
Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate you coming over. So
Thank you
so much for sharing the insights.
You are in the Silicon Valley?
I'm at Ambu@orangeheart.com. Feel free to email me anytime if you have any questions. And I would also love to stay in touch with all of you. So please send me your contact information.
Are you in the Silicon Valley?
Very much.
Thank you, Ambu.
Sorry?
Where are you located?
San Francisco.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.